All right, let's jump into Exodus 39. Now this chapter, it's incredible. We get this deep dive into the stunning detail God commanded for the priest's garments. And trust me, this is about so much more than just clothes. We're talking about holiness, beauty, and seeing a divine command come to life.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts, the gold and the thread, let's just stop and think about the big question driving this whole thing. How do you even begin to dress for the presence of a holy God? I mean, really think about that. And what we're about to see is that the answer has absolutely nothing to do with our ideas of fashion. It's all about God's standard, His way of being approached.
And that right there is the key to everything. These robes and vestments weren't dreamed up by some committee or based on the latest trends. Nope. Every single thread, every detail came directly from God. It was a heavenly blueprint handed to Moses up on the mountain, and the instruction was clear. Follow it to the letter.
Okay, so let's take a look at this blueprint. The scripture says these garments were made for glory and for beauty. I love that. It tells you right away that God isn't just about function. He cares about excellence, about artistry, especially in His service. And boy, do the materials they use show that.
First up, we have the ephod. This was like an outer vest for the high priests, and the craftsmanship here, it's just mind-blowing. We're not talking about just weaving some cloth. They took pure gold, beat it into super thin plates, then sliced it into these fine wires, and then they wove those golden wires right into the fabric with the blue, purple, and scarlet threads. Can you imagine? The garment was literally threaded with pure gold. What a statement about the divine king they were serving.
Then, under the ephod, was this robe made entirely of blue, the color we often associate with the heavens. And check out this detail along the bottom edge. It had these little golden bells alternating with fabric pomegranates. The pomegranates were a symbol of fruitfulness, of life. But the bells, they had a really crucial job. Their sound would echo as the priest moved around inside the holy place. It was an audible sign to everyone outside that he was still alive, that he was accepted and ministering in God's awesome presence. And then you get this, the final, unmistakable statement, a plate of pure gold, right on the front of the priest's turban, and engraved on it are the words, Holiness to the Lord. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that, right? It was like his name tag, his mission statement, for everyone to see. It declared that every part of him, everything he did, was completely set apart for God.
Now, what's so beautiful about all this is that these amazing garments weren't just to make the priests look separate. They were actually designed to connect him to the people. In a very real, physical way, the high priest carried the names of the entire nation of Israel with him every time he went before God.
And look at how this was done. It's just beautiful. First, you have 2 onyx stones, one on each shoulder of the ephod. Each stone had 6 of the tribe's names engraved on it. This symbolized that the priest was literally carrying the burden, the responsibility of the people on his shoulders. But that's not all. The names were also on the breastplate, which was worn right over his heart. This showed that he was also carrying the people with love and affection, holding them near to God's presence, strength and love together.
And this breastplate, wow, it was a work of art. It had 12 different precious stones, all set in 4 rows. And on each unique stone, the name of one of the 12 tribes was engraved. Think about that. It's this beautiful picture that every single tribe was precious and unique in God's eyes, and all of them were held securely right over the high priest's heart.
So what does this all add up to? It's a really profound truth. The high priest never, ever went before God just for himself. He was always a representative. By physically carrying their names on his shoulders and over his heart, he was bringing the entire nation into God's presence as a constant reminder, a memorial before the Lord.
Okay, so this brings us to the big finale of the chapter. All this incredibly detailed work is finally done. The tabernacle, the garments, everything is finished. But what's really interesting is that the final measure of success wasn't just, hey, we're done. It was all about how it was done.
If you read through Exodus 39, you'll see this one phrase pop up over and over and over again. It's like a drumbeat through the whole chapter, as the Lord commanded Moses. In fact, it's there 7 times, and you know in the Bible, 7 is that number of perfection, of completeness. This isn't just lazy writing. It's the whole point. The success of this massive project was judged by one simple thing. Did they do it exactly how God told them to? So when the people bring all the finished work to Moses for inspection, the Bible gives us this really simple but powerful summary. It says that Moses looked at everything, and so had they done it. Just let that sink in. You can almost hear the quiet satisfaction, the sense of a job faithfully completed.
And how did they do it? The verse finishes with the ultimate stamp of approval. They had done it, quote, as the Lord commanded Moses. That was the victory. It wasn't about their own creative flair or trying to improve on the design. Their triumph was in their perfect, humble, unwavering faithfulness to the exact pattern God gave them.
So this final scene plays out in these 4 beautiful steps. First, the people bring all their hard work to Moses. Second, Moses looks over every single piece. Third, he confirms that, yep, they did it exactly as the Lord commanded. And finally, number 4, what's the result of all that faithful obedience? A blessing. Moses blesses them. Their work was seen, it was approved, and it was consecrated. What a moment.
And that leaves us with something really powerful to chew on. This whole story of these garments proves that our God is a God who cares about the details. It wasn't enough to just throw together some nice-looking robes. No, they had to be made exactly His way. And that really brings the question home for us, doesn't it? If every single thread and every little jewel mattered so much in their worship, what are the details of obedience, the details of holiness that matter in our walk with God today?